All right, I'm here with Emma, and Emma is a 1.5-year-old mini Australian Shepherd who is very nervous and fearful. I think in this video I'm going to show you how you can use positive reinforcement and really not doing something to help a dog feel comfortable. Now, when we do have a fearful dog, I'm going to talk about a couple things you shouldn't do first. First of all, if you have a dog that's fearful and it's reacting to someone near you, if we correct or punish or anything along those lines, that can be a negative reinforcement. The dog is saying, I don't like this guest in the house. And I think that in her case, I think that she's acting this way because, first of all, she's a herding breed. She really doesn't have any rules. She gets good exercise, but it's not consistent. And she's able to tell her humans when to pet her. So if you imagine yourself at work, if you're at a boss that said, okay, there's no more rules for you, there's no consequences, and you tell me whenever you feel like you've earned enough to get paid, no questions asked. You're probably going to be the worst employee for that company. So basically for her, she thinks, I think, that she is in charge of her humans, but her humans don't listen to her. She also has separation anxiety. So she freaks out when her humans are not around, but when her humans are around, she's on duty. She thinks she has to protect them from the world. And so when people are here, she's on duty, so she can't ever really relax. When the humans leave, she's in her kennel freaking out because she has separation anxiety. She doesn't ever get a break. Dogs can absolutely have PTSD. I'm pretty sure that she has PTSD. And the great thing is we can get her out of it, but we're going to have to change her lifestyle. So I've spent a lot of time talking about rules and structure and rewarding her for desired actions and things along those lines. But in this video, I'm going to just show you a very simple technique to help the dog approach. Now, a couple other things you don't want to do. The guardians here, and they don't mean anything bad by it, and a lot of people do this, have been using a squirt bottle when she barks or acts this way. Now, if she's acting out, she's saying, I disagree with this person here, or I don't like what they're doing, or whatever it is, and I don't listen to her. Matter of fact, I punish her. I mean, you think about the same thing would happen if you were fearful or terrified of something, and then you communicated that to your partner, your friend, or whoever you're with. Instead of them listening to you, they punched you in the arm, or they slapped you and said, stop doing that. Well, after a while, you're getting more and more frustrated. I'm pretty sure that's what's going on with her. And so we don't ever want to punish a dog for reacting. We want to find out why the dog's reacting and see if we can help the dog have a positive association with that. In this case, she doesn't like my presence here because when I'm here, she feels that I might take advantage of her guardians. Now, she's actually walking right underneath the camera now. She's walking just off this side. So in a second, I'm going to have our cameraman move a little bit to the side. I'm going to show, not quite yet, I'm going to show you how to do this exercise. So don't ever punish your dog or correct or yell at your dog for when it's reacting. The best thing you do is increase the distance between them and whatever it is, especially if they're outside. Once they're reacting, they're what we call above threshold. It's basically hysteria. They're not going to listen to you. You're not going to teach them anything. Move them away, and you might have to move them out of line of sight. Any punishing or correcting would be like punishing your friend who freaked out because 12 spiders just got dumped on her head and she freaked out and you started slapping her. You calm down. Well, that's not appropriate. Same thing for the dog. Guardians are not slapping this dog, just to make sure that everybody knows. Now, the other thing we don't want to do is we don't want to pet the dog. A lot of times people inadvertently make a command word. The dog is nervous and we're like, it's okay, good boy. Well, first of all, I usually say it's not a good idea to say it's okay if the dog is fearful about something, even if it is okay, because after a while we can create an association, a command word. Every time I hear it's okay and I get petted is when I'm freaking out. First of all, anything your dog is doing when you pet it is what we're rewarding. So the dog thinks I'm being rewarded for freaking out. And the only time I hear it's okay is when I'm trying to kill the guest. So clearly it's okay means go try to kill the guest or get excited when we say calm down. So we often use things out of context. So when your dog's reacting to that, like I said, the best thing you do is increase the distance. Now she's reactive. Dogs are very reactive to things that move, and she's a herding breed. So all dogs' eyes are attracted to movement, but especially being a herding breed, sudden movements are going to capture her attention. So if I were to stand up right now, she's going to freak out. So I'm not going to do that because I want her to be calm and relaxed for this. It would make good video, but it's going to make it a longer video. It's already pretty long. So basically, what you want to do is I'd like you to arrange to have guests come over and have them watch this video before they come over so they know what they're doing. Now, this is a version I'm going to add to this. I've done this technique before, but I'm going to add a clicker to it. Now, if you have never used a clicker, you need to learn how to prime the clicker. I'm not going to go over it in this video, but you need to prime the clicker. Just Google prime the clicker to learn how to do that. The clicker is to indicate the instant the dog did what I wanted. So I'm going to use this to communicate to the dog that it did something I want. You click when the instant the dog does it what you want, and then you get a treat in their mouth as quickly as you can afterwards. And then you'd like to, if you're going to assign a marker, you would say the command word after the treat goes to the mouth. I'm not going to use any markers this way. I just want her to, basically what we're going to have her do is practice approaching me, getting something good, and then moving away. And we'll see if I can get her to take a treat from me. All right, we're gonna have our cameraman adjust over there. I have a bunch of treats in my hand, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna toss a treat on the floor near her. And I'm not enticing her, I'm not even looking at her. And I'm clicking when she gets the treat. Now, what I want her to do is I want her to get closer to me. And you see how she's moving away. So if your dog takes the treat and moves away, or won't take the treat, or growls, what you want to do is throw the treat halfway distance between the dog and you. If I throw it there and she won't come, the next step is I would throw it even closer. Now, when I should have clicked for the first one, but that's okay. And when I didn't want to move because I was in an up position, and that would cause her to freak out. So a couple of the indicators: if the dog takes a treat and darts away, or what I call leaning for second base. So they have their foot back here and they're leaning way forward, and then they run away. So if you see your dog leaning like that, it's tense, or it's moving away, or it's grumbling, or any of those indications, it's saying it's uncomfortable. So I've been doing this for quite a while in the session. What I want her to do is practice approaching me, having something good happen, and then moving away, but she does all of this on her own volition. She had a little bit of the lean in that you could see. But you see now she's lingering. And she checked in. Is he moving? So when you're doing this, don't move around. Don't talk when the dog's coming towards you. Once you toss the treat, you can, if you have the clicker, you can click, or you guys can click for her. And then when she moves away, then I just throw another one and click. Now that one's pretty close to me. Now if I reach over for her, now again, I've been working with her, I did this for about an hour. The things that you don't want to do, don't look at her. Don't try to talk to her. Don't try to pet her. Don't hold the treats out. Wait for her to be lingering around here first. A lot of times, excuse me, what I'll do, thank you, is I throw the treats, and sometimes there's a distance where the dog will only come to. So if you notice that, let's say that that's where it is. Sometimes I do what I call a jackpot. So I might do a trail like this, and now I go to 2. So the closer she gets, the more of a reward she gets. And sometimes I'll even throw one on my shoe, or a couple on my shoe. Now the shoe thing, she should be able to come all the way to you and move away before you do that. So now to get her started, I'm going to throw a treat halfway to her. So you saw she was looking around for the treat. Now, if she won't take any treats, that means she's above threshold. She's past her breaking point. She has cortisol in her blood. She's not going to listen to anything. Now, I'm going to show you another little tip, but what I'd like you to do is really focus on what we just accomplished here. So you're going to throw the treat halfway distance between you and the dog. If a dog won't come in, then throw the treat halfway distance between the dog and where the first treat you threw was. The idea, and even though at first she might only lean forward and lick up the treat and move away, that's fine. Eventually you get her to lean and take 1 step, then 2 steps, then 3 steps. Eventually what I was doing is I was putting a treat here on the couch like that. And again, I'm not enticing her. So she's coming over to get it. Now, if she won't take a treat from you, I'm going to show you kind of the method that I got her to start taking treats from my hand, which is another little new thing that I've done, first time I've done in this video. Now, I'm tearing these treats in half because we're basically going through an entire bag of treats here. And that's fine. We want to use a high value treat. We want the dog to have a positive experience, but we just back off a little bit of what she's going to get for dinner. So what I started doing is doing like this, and I put the treats there, and I just basically kept on doing this until she would come all the way closer and closer. And don't move like I just did when the dog's coming closer. Now again, I've put in a lot of work, so this is probably, you're not going to achieve the same result you're seeing in the video the first time. That's okay. So what I did then is I put one there, and then I let her have it there. Now, a lot of times what I like to do is I prefer to hold it with my hand flat like that. And if you notice, I left my hand there. A lot of times the dog will come back and sniff it and sample it a second time, because that's a good way for them to interact with us a little bit more. And sees how she moved away, and that's her neural pathways. So remember, when a dog's acting like this, it's not doing this consciously or intentionally, barking at the person, lunging at the person, nipping them, or whatever these things are. It's the dog is doing it from a fearful state. It has got practice doing this, and so that is the new normal behavior for the dog. Now, indications like this, if the dog sits, that's a good indication. The dog won't sit unless they start feeling a little bit comfortable. But notice that she's sitting a good 6 or 8 feet away from me. When the dog is sitting and lingering closer, or laying down and turning to the side or turning away from the guest, that's when she feels very comfortable. Now, what I would like you to do is I'd like you to arrange, and neighbors are great for this because they live nearby. You can have somebody come by, spend a couple minutes laying down, even more good of an indication. But I'm not telling her, and for you guys, don't tell her to sit or lie down. When she sits or lays down on her own, she's saying, I'm comfortable enough to put myself at a disadvantage this close to the person. If you tell her to sit, she might do it, but it doesn't indicate the same thing. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to have neighbors come over and practice this sort of ritual. And keep it like 20 minutes would be the maximum. But really all you're gonna do is you're gonna have a copious amount of treats, and they're just gonna throw them, and what we want her to do is just practice approaching and moving away. And if she gets here and she's like, you think she wants you to pet her, don't. If you do think you're to the point you can start petting her, reach your hand halfway to her and stop. And then wait. If she turns her head to the side, that's her way of saying, I do not want you to pet me. Or if she moves away, she's saying that she doesn't want you to pet her. So the idea is when you approach, so this is the dog's head, I approach my hand, I keep it halfway. If she comes and touches my hand, that's an indication she's starting to feel comfortable for that. But don't be offended when she does that. If you reach forward, when you do, move like you're underwater, very slow and fluid movement. When you reach towards her, don't be afraid, if she barks or growls or moves away, don't worry about it. That's not unusual. But when you do it, I want you to hold your hand like this, not like this. I'm surprised she didn't move. Normally the dog, but if I moved, this is independent of moving here. So I'm moving multiple pieces. So it might take 2 or 3 times before that guest can come over before she feels comfortable enough to take the treat out of their hand, and that's okay. So you can set her up for success for this by exercising her first, like we talked about. Give her about 15 minutes to recover before the guest comes over. And if the guests come over and knock, because she gets animated at the door, you might want to play around with the different versions of this, see how she responds. I have some people that just do better, just like, we're gonna leave the door open, just let yourself in. And we're not gonna, sometimes the knock and the ring of the doorbell gets the dog all worked up. Now sometimes if they're protective, if somebody comes in, that freaks them out as well, but it is what it is. There's other things that we can do about this, and we're gonna come back and work on her separation anxiety, some other things, so we'll come up with, at that point, some other exercises that will help with some other things we can do to help her warm up with people. All right, well, this is Emma, and she's nice and relaxed right now. This is a great end to this particular video. And these are some tips and tricks you can use if you have a dog that's fearful or reactive, but not aggressive towards people that come to your house.